Hello, guys. Welcome back to Lunatic Astrology. I am your astrologer, Lori Lothian, and we're discussing the big eclipse coming up on April the 30th, which is going to be in Taurus at 10 degrees. And we're going to talk about what this means for the collective and maybe for all signs as well. Stay tuned for that. This is going to be co-hosted with astrologer Justyna Rossy, who is also a Hellenistic astrologer using whole sign house systems in her practice. So we're just waiting for her to come into the room and we will get started. And yeah, and if you don't want like the super geeky all astrology digging into this eclipse and that's not your cup of tea, then no worries. Just stay tuned for the all signs portion as well later on, which I will continue by myself. So welcome back. Here we have Justyna Rossy. She has a great channel on YouTube. That's how I found her. I'll put the link to her channel in the description box below. We had a great little pre-conversation before we started. And she's shy, so everyone will be really nice to her. Welcome, Justyna.
Hello, thank you, Lori, for having me on your channel.
So tell me a little bit about, before we talk about this crazy ass eclipse, why you're into astrology and what you love about it, and even where you studied perhaps.
I've been kind of interested in astrology for many years, especially the sun signs, like I imagine many people who get into astrology. But I got deeper into astrology when during my Saturn return. So this is when I had my first child, and I was slightly kind of feeling lost with myself, and I was kind of researching lots of information about myself online, and here I came across a chart, an astrology chart, and I started to research the meaning of each glyph, and yes, and I became really obsessed with it. So that was kind of the start of it. But then I studied a lot. I self-studied for a long time. And then I decided I wanted to enroll and study with Mayo School of Astrology here in the UK. And I've recently also finished horary astrology as well. So I actually got really interested in traditional astrology, because before I was more into modern astrology, but now I'm kind of also combining it all together.
Wow. I have to laugh at that too. The whole Saturn return is when I first got into astrology as well. So I just had my second Saturn return. You can't laugh. You have to laugh at that. And similarly, I had just had my first child, and I was also trying.
Oh, right.
I learned astrology when I was younger, but I really then suddenly around age 29 became obsessed with it. And so there's something about those Saturn returns for those of us who are going to become astrologers. They tend to be quite important, because Saturn is like, that sobering up, but also it's connected to things that are traditions of some sort. So the tradition of astrology. And of course, here we are today. Well, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And I really am excited to talk about this eclipse, because it's kind of a mixed bag. I'll be sharing the screen if you're listening, everybody, so you can see what the sky looks like. And we'll be talking about that and collaborating together creatively, me and Justyna. But I want to say the thing I'm really loving is the condition of Venus, the ruler of this particular solar eclipse. And that is fascinating, how well positioned she is in the sky. So I'm going to share that. I'm going to ask Justyna what her thoughts are as well. And we're also going to talk about what it might mean for the collective. For the all signs portion, I'll be doing something a little bit after this. So we're just really jamming as astrologers together. So can you see that screen share too, Justyna?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so I just put the basic planets in there, including asteroid Chiron, not to muck it up with all the asteroids that I normally use. So everyone can see, all you astrology geeks out there, the sun and moon are together in the sky. It's called a new moon. And this particular case, it's called a partial solar eclipse. And it's an eclipse just because of the proximity of the sun and the moon to the north node. And it's partial because it's not a total eclipse. In other words, it doesn't cover the entire sun. So it still has power, though. It still works as an eclipse, even though it's not a totality. And in my view, there's undeniably two important factors. I love that Uranus is participating in a once every 80 something odd year journey through Taurus, where he's like excitingly, exhilaratingly, charging electric bolts of lightning at the eclipse site. And I really like that Venus is the lord of the eclipses, meaning she's the ruler of Taurus, where this particular North Node eclipse on April 30th is happening. And she is going to be sitting at the time up in a menage a trois, almost a menage a quatre, where she's hanging out with Neptune and Jupiter. She's right between them in a sandwich, and she's in the sign of her exaltation. So I just think that it's just, she's really luscious. And so I don't see how this can be a particularly awkwardly bad eclipse, especially with the trine from Mars, sextile from Mars to the eclipse. What have you been thinking about this for how it might show up in the world in terms of the collective and how we experience the eclipse and the aftermath?
So first of all, I'm actually really excited about this eclipse. I think it's got a lot of potential, and so it looks much more positive than the lunar eclipse that we'll have in Scorpio in May. So generally eclipses are really exciting times, and here we've got Uranus conjunct this solar eclipse, which well, it almost feels, and with the sextile to Mars as well, it almost feels like the events that unfold around this time will happen pretty quickly and pretty unexpectedly as well. Now with Uranus, this could be connected to scientific discoveries or breakthroughs, for example, or some unexpected events. Now, as you mentioned, the ruler of this eclipse, Venus, is exalted in Pisces, so that's also really positive for the solar eclipse. And hopefully this could be connected to peace, to inner peace, to harmony collectively, especially with what has been happening in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking of something similar, and I can't remember the exaltation degree of Venus. Is it 27?
In Pisces.
Yeah, the actual degree. Every planet, guys, if you're listening.
Yes, actually, I've got here a table of essential dignities. Is this what you're asking about?
Yeah, like I think in my memory that.
Yes, it is 27. You're right.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that till I was staring at her going, is that her exaltation degree?
Yes.
Is an exaltation sign when the eclipse is occurring. And I've got the time set for pretty close to the exact time, but it's not exactly. I'm not going to tinker with the minutes, but it is on April 30th, sort of at 1 PM in Pacific Coast.
Yes.
Oh, it's got me set for Vancouver, Australia, wherever that is. I don't even know why my software did that, but anyway, I live in Canada. But the gist is like, Venus is exalted in Pisces. Now she's exalted in the degree of Pisces as well. It can look sometimes exaltation.
Oh, you're pausing?
I am pausing? Did I pause?
Yes, a couple of times.
God. Okay, that's weird. I've got high-speed internet going here. So we were laughing, guys. I'm going to move myself closer to the router. We were laughing because we had so many tech glitches starting. I had to unplug my Yeti mic. Justyna and I couldn't hear each other. And I've got like a super high-speed 5 bars. I'm wondering if we got any solar flares hitting the earth or something right now. Okay. So I'm still on high speed and I'm closer than I was to the router, to the machine that makes the internet happen. Okay, let me know if I pause again, okay?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But could you hear me when I told you?
Yes, but you were
okay, that's fine.
When you said you're pausing, you were choppy for me. You were like,
right.
Pausing.
I wasn't sure if you heard me.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to say, exaltation, it's something like that's over the top, super powered, extra special, and stuff like that. I don't know that there can be something negative from this, but Uranus and an exalted Venus could be some female in the collective coming out with some kind of dramatic and really powerful story. A famous woman, somebody, hyper diva, somebody really way out there in Pisces, maybe a super creative like Lady Gaga or something. So I think of an exalted Venus and I think of like women.
Yes, feminine energy, definitely.
Yeah, way over the top energy or whatever. And so also, you never know. The proximity to Neptune is interesting because Neptune does connect to things like addiction, sometimes the shadow side of it, addictions, and you know, even though
escapism. Yeah.
yeah, it's very positive for the most part, but I don't know. Sometimes even a sextile can look like something jolting to the world with Uranus in the mix. I was wondering about the crypto markets with a Venus and Uranus combination, or things to do with currencies and investments as well. Uranus in the Taurus zone of the chart in history was during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl era in the 1930s, and also corresponded with the rise of fascism and the lack of food, a food supply shortage. Now, this is such a positive sky because it is that gorgeous sextile to Uranus, Venus, that maybe it's some good news about some of the things we're all fearful of, like food shortages, like
petrol as well, the global issue of the petrol, the gas. So actually this reminds me of the Ingress Aries chart as well, with the moon, which represents the people in mundane astrology being at the very last degree of Libra. So it's like we are kind of moving from bad to worse collectively as people, and here we are with as you said, the food shortages and petrol issue, gas as well.
That last degree where that moon sat is literally the same place that Venus will do her Cazimi with the Heart of the Sun event in October of this year. I find that fascinating, that the ingress for we the people at that anaretic degree will be recapitulated.
Oh, wow.
To me, when I look at this piece of sky, I feel hopeful. I mean, I don't mind that Mars is in the mix because he's doing a lap swim in Pisces, enjoying the water. His friend, the watery, Neptune character is hanging. He's got like a cocktail in his hand, and Venus is giving, rubbing sunscreen all over him. And Jupiter is there giving them some kind of lecture about the meaning of, life or something. So it's kind of like a really good party that is happening in Pisces. And
absolutely,
that Mars is like, I don't know, he's like, hey guys, and he's looking over at Uranus and at this eclipse, and what would he bring to the table? And in the Babylonian tradition, they looked at Mars and his synodic cycle as indicators of new directions of change, and in general he's the change god, not Uranus. And I'm like, what kind of new, jolting, exciting change of direction is coming for the world in the wake of this particular partial solar eclipse? And I feel a sense of looking at the sky of some sort of relief. That's what it feels like. But it's so hard to always pin it down to say, yeah, there's a goodness, there's a relief quality that unfolds from it.
Yes, and it's a North Node solar eclipse. So it's about the future. It's about something that is about to kind of emerge, the events that are about to unfold. And also, let's not forget that Pluto will be retrograde already. It will turn station retrograde on the 29th, the day before this eclipse. And on a positive note, Pluto will sextile. As it turns retrograde, it will sextile Jupiter, Venus in Pisces. And then so I think it might be like a positive transformation as well, moving forward.
Yeah, maybe also, here's a really far out possibility. You never know. It just is like, I'm always hopeful. I'm like a super dreamer, but.
Oh, you posed again.
Oh no, am I back?
No, yeah, you have the video post. The video, yeah.
Just my video. Okay, that is so weird. Maybe I'll take my video off. I don't know. I'm on high-speed internet too, so I'm just thinking maybe the universe has got a rift in the space-time matrix today.
Something is happening in the sky. But well, as you say, I also try to always look at the positive and to give people kind of the positive news. But obviously, with Pluto, it can go different ways, right? But I thought, because it stations retrograde and will kind of sextile Venus and Jupiter in the initial phase, I thought that was positive.
Yeah, well, he's going to go back over some ground, right, that he's covered already. And so what kind of ground is behind him? Well, there's pandemic ground. There's ground that has to do with things like, sex scandals,
Yeah.
Ghislaine
So yeah, exactly. So all the issues that kind of we dealt with, this will be the time that we kind of a time of reevaluations as well throughout this retrograde until the 8th of October.
Well, we have the new Supreme Court justice in the United States. And, and there's this exalted Venus in the mix here today. And, you never know even if that there won't be some interesting stories in the weeks and months that follow this eclipse to do with what the impact of putting her on the court has been. Because, justice, Jupiter, Venus, exalted
Yes.
female, and Pluto, what kind of case might come before the Supreme Court in the wake of this eclipse, in which her participation, her judgment, or her, ruling, whatever she has to say about it, becomes big news and very important news as well. And, in ancient astrology, Pluto rules people of color as well. So people with darker complected skin. So there is kind of a feeling here that a Black female justice in the Supreme Court could be even one of the major stories that breaks. She's already there, but I mean, something about a case that she rules on in the months that follow. How about this one? How about a UFO or something being discovered under the sea?
Oh. Yes, but oftentimes these things are not actually revealed to the public about UFO. But
I think some UFOs, because ever since Uranus has been dicking around in Taurus, we've been having all these disclosures by the CIA. And
yes, but I think that the UFO will come when Pluto enters Aquarius, and I think that will be a big technology boom, so to speak.
That's interesting. What an interesting thought. I haven't thought about that before. Yeah. So he slides into Aquarius a bit in 2023, but he kind of sticks his full 2 feet in 24. So yes, we could be finding some kind of big news stories about revealing about UFOs or UFOs.
I think so.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I would like
please.
some underwater discoveries. That's what I want to see happen from this eclipse. Underwater discovery.
I think there's I don't know his name, but I know there is some famous scientist who's trying to discover the giant squid, or kind of to learn more the giant squid as well. But I know there's so much to discover underground, definitely. But I think that once Pluto enters Aquarius, there will be a huge transformation when it comes to architecture, when it comes to how we relate to one another, because we are moving into the air. We have already moved with Jupiter and Saturn conjunction, but here with Pluto, this is a much bigger kind of transit or transformation without, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm amazed that this is going to be happening and I get to be here and be alive for this Pluto in Aquarius. And so, yeah, so, we had, as if you're listening to this Astrology Geek style, Jupiter and Saturn became, you joined together in the sky at 0 Aquarius in December of 2020. And it begins to open up in earnest in the true, next 200 years, a series every 20 years of those planets coming together to conjunct in air signs. And so there is a new era of air, although we slipped into a bit of air in the 1980 to 2000 Libra conjunction. This is the beginning of the full-time air. And, if you go back to the 80s and the music of the, 80s and 90s, and you start to, and the royal wedding, by the way, Libra, right? The big royal wedding with Princess Diana was a part of that synodic cycle that was about the Libra air. So, exalted couples, the Princess Diana story, but also a lot of the music was interesting back then. There were a lot of songs that were love ballads, right? Libra, but also very spiritual, very, we are the one, we are the world, and there's just a different vibe. And then the music changed and crashed right back down to the earth energy again, from 2000 onward. I like to listen to music and see how it reflects those eras. And, we're going to come into, a friend of mine who's an astrologer said she needs some music she likes. She can't stand the stuff that's out there right now. And I said, oh, it's coming.
It has changed a lot, the music. I still like to listen to the music from 90s, and like my daughters are into Britney Spears now, and it's been kind of playing on all day recently. But yes, I'm really excited about this transition into the air, because I think it will be really interesting, and it has already started how we relate to one another. I think it has already started throughout the global pandemic. All the we became more detached with one another because we were unable to meet. So everything was kind of done through internet.
Yeah, it was like that. And I like that this eclipse has such a spiritual overtone too. It's like following in the wake of that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction.
Absolutely.
And it's still like the whole of the milieu of where that sextile comes from is a very transcendent, spiritual, imaginal, and profound energy. And I just think there's something like really good trying to happen. Mars is the god of plagues in the tradition of the Babylonian astrology, and it was his heliacal rise. It was his heliacal rise in 2019 in the sign of Virgo. Was it Virgo they rose in, or did he rise? He rose in Libra, but he had his Cazimi in Virgo. Now, Virgo is health and, health and healing and sickness, but it's also an era with Babylonian astrology style that we've come into a 200-year era in which Mars is a ruler for the planet Earth. Crazy enough, badly enough, that's when as that transition happened, or there was this plague that befell humanity. But I do think if we consider him the god of plagues, because he's the emissary of Nergal, the god of plagues, if we consider that he is a plague-related planet, and we believe that's true, now that he's sitting in a sextile, a flowing harmonious energy to this new beginning, new moon eclipse, and he's connected to a benefic planet, to Venus and Jupiter, just in the same kind of hand-holding stellium. He's kind of got his hand in on the edge, but he's still there. He's co-present with them. I kind of feel like we're going to see a real shift in the pandemic sentiment. I don't necessarily mean even in the pandemic. I mean, Omicron is endemic, becoming endemic. We've moved away from the panic attacks of the other Delta and other variants. And I feel like people are going to start to see that the pandemic is no longer here as a pandemic. Because even now, with mask mandates down in most countries and vaccine passports being dropped, you still have a lot of residual post-traumatic fear. People are still traumatized. I think this could signal the end of the feeling of trauma.
Well, we've just finished Jupiter and Mars cycle, and we started a new one on the 4th of April. So that was also kind of, we ended a phase that started in 2020 at the very beginning of the global pandemic. So we have already kind of started a different cycle with different energies.
Saturn and Mars. You mean Saturn? You said Jupiter. Saturn and Mars.
Oh, sorry, Saturn and Mars. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, in Aquarius. So we have already started kind of a new cycle. And as you say, we kind of, I think people are adapting now to this new reality. And well, I think because this conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune will be exact on the 12th, but during this solar eclipse, we will still feel these energies because there is so much emphasis on Pisces still, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I'm so glad you brought that up, that great synodic reset of Mars and Saturn, because it really did correspond with lockdowns. It was at the end of March 2020, and it literally became the beginning of worldwide lockdowns and restrictions around the pandemic itself. And that is definitely a true point, that it's been reset. And the value of it resetting on April the 4th, where we had all of this Jupiter, Neptune energy in Pisces, tells me, I hope anyway, that the sky, the fragrance in the sky, okay, the overall tone of the sky, independent of the Aquarian reset, is positive, is something, is magical is trying to happen. And I know it's like that wasn't happening back in 2020.
Oh, no. I definitely feel like the energies are, people are, even though it's, life isn't easy at the moment, but I think people have more hope and faith.
Yeah, and they have hope and faith, and they want to actually enjoy life again.
Yes.
And I think that the feeling that the lack of fun, enjoyment, play, and pleasure that we had lost during that last couple of years, I feel like this kind of end of April eclipse with Venus as the ruler in a love up swimming pool party over there, exalted on her exaltation degree. It's like people are just damn well done. What quality of life do you have if you're afraid all the time, or if you're, you're afraid to go and have enjoyment with your people you love, your friends, your family. And I just feel like, as a goddess of pleasure, enjoyment, fun, and play, and all that stuff, she's like, screw that stuff. We're going to party over here and have a good time with Jupiter and Neptune and Mars.
Absolutely. And here there's Jupiter and Neptune, and the Jupiter and Venus conjunction will be exact the day after the solar eclipse. So I think people have realized that, yeah, we lost 3 years, and so it's I think it's time to kind of, and we also maybe appreciate the simple pleasures of life, which is what Taurus is about, Taurus energy, enjoying the simple pleasures of life. And with fixed moon phase, this is also about long-term stability, long-term long-term stability, building something with like more secure structure.
Yeah. I think so. And I feel like the crypto thing is something in there for sure, though. Crypto regulation might show up, which I don't really necessarily like. Because there is that Uranus bit, that might just be a shock and awe announcement around something to do with the crypto world. And yeah, Venus is exalted, and I do believe Venus might be exalted in Pisces in the Bitcoin chart, by the way. This might be a good time to buy Bitcoin, but in the meantime, don't take my word for it. Everyone check your Bitcoin chart. But I do think that this energy is going to be exciting. It's going to be refreshing. It's going to be relieving, and it's going to be maybe startling, because I think with that Uranus so close to the eclipse, there are things that are going to come out, like you said, maybe even technological announcements.
Yeah, technological, but also something connected to stock market as well. Because here, I don't know much about, actually, I don't know anything about crypto, but stock market here, I think there could be some also shocking news or changes or things going in a different direction, I think there could also be something happening.
I kept waiting for the big correction. The markets are way oversold, if you ask me, or they've been slowly correcting in the last 2 months, the stock markets. But I keep waiting for some kind of real downdraft to happen, right? Some kind of like, real sober-minded correction about the fact that we have such high inflation. And, inflation is something that we're experiencing because of that Uranus Taurus transit. And it did correspond with things like the aftermath of the 1929 stock market crash. The aftermath was the Uranus Taurus transit. And I believe, it did really shift the world, because that's where we came down with the whole, in the United States, they came up with the whole social assistance plans for the people. It was, can't remember the name of it, the New Deal or something. Well, that probably wasn't the name, but it might have been called the New Deal, something with the word deal. But that's when they started saying, okay, we can't have people like.
Oh, you paused again.
Oh, okay. Hopefully my voice doesn't pause.
It does actually.
Oh no, I've got this at the highest.
It's okay, it was quick.
That's okay.
I don't want to be annoying, but I'm just letting you
No,
know.
I get it. Like, I don't know how to boost the speed. It's on the high speed. I was going to say something about social, okay, universal wage or something like that, announcements like that. I don't know if that's going to happen in the 6 months after the eclipse, but during that transit of Uranus through Taurus and the eclipse cycle until July of 22 through Taurus, I might expect to see some major government announcements around the world to do with new plans for how people's financial well-being can be secured. And the most dramatic way would be a universal wage, a higher wage, minimum wage going up. Another one would be a universal income like they have in the Netherlands and stuff, where you just get this much money per year, no matter what. Those are dramatic, but if famines and food shortages may happen over the next 1.5 to 2 years, and that's already being predicted right now by economists and people who are looking at things that are happening, such as something as simple as phosphorus that you need, and potash that you need to fertilize soil in scarcity, and prices of it going up, and then therefore farmers can't create the yield.
Because some of the ingredients to make cereal or bread comes from, well, the countries that are currently at war. So if we don't get these resources, then the farmers won't be able to produce. And I think there will already be delays because things like this are already prepared a couple of years in advance. So here we are looking at food shortages, maybe, not now, but maybe in a year's time or in 2 years' time. And this could be now the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. There's serious disruptions to the food chain. This might be one of those eclipses. It's like an oasis in the desert, where we get a good 6 months afterwards, for the most part, where everyone feels a lot better. But maybe it's just a temporary watering hole.
Temporary, yes, as you say. Because, well, Taurus is also related to roots, fertility, farms, and here we are talking about food shortages and farmers and farming. So I think this is like an interesting, exciting eclipse, but moving forward, things might be different, So as you say, let's enjoy the moment, let's enjoy good energies, good vibes while they last.
Yeah. Make it a summer of fun and love and play and joy, relief and pleasure, excitement, and stuff like that, and ride the wave of goodness for as long as it lasts. And when it comes to that peace in the Ukraine with the Russian problem, that's probably coming out of the Libra moon that we're going to have on the 16th, 17th. I have a feeling that will be sealing the peace deal and creating a compromise, which is on the way. That never looked to me like a long-term issue, but it unfortunately did cause so much damage. So there's that. Yeah.
And Jupiter and Neptune conjunction is also about the refugees, it seems like, doesn't it? All the refugees coming out of Ukraine, so Poland, for example. So that's also, and even I heard that even more news on the day we're recording about encouraging people to leave the eastern border and get the heck out of the area in Ukraine or something like that. It feels to me like this situation will close out within the next 2 weeks, and everything will come to disordered order, because it's nobody wins. It's like a lose-lose. Nobody really wins, and yet at some point this does stop. So I think this eclipse is a part of the wave of some of that shift away from our focus on war. I did an astrology YouTube video called War Drums and Spiders for the eclipse of the 4th of December. And nobody liked it, because I said there's a war coming in the first half of 2022. Oh, wow.
And it was a very unpopular video, because no one wants to hear that there are war drums beating. And I said Ukraine, Russia, or Taiwan, China, but I didn't know which. So one of the two. Well, this has been a fun conversation, and I'm really appreciative of you handling all the tech issues and the ongoing weird internet. When we get done, I'm going to Google solar flares and see if there's like a solar flare hitting the earth, because the things that have happened in our tech this morning have been bizarre. Um,
Thank you so much for having me.
so where can
Um,
people find
yes.
you, and where would you like them to find you? Because I'll put all the links in the box. Your channel, anywhere else?
So yeah, I have a website as well. It's www.justynarossi.com and Justyna Rossy on Instagram as well.
All right, so I'll put the links
Yeah.
to all your social media in the box for people to find you. Go listen to her channel, guys. She's really, really great. And she does the all signs every month, and she does actual independent videos for each sign, which I have no patience for. So I totally admire that she has that energy to do that. So,
Oh, yeah, it's
and
quite
she's
tiring.
I know she's one of the people I listen to because I really enjoy her and because I think that she's really good. So she's one of my go-tos to listen to. So I hope you guys go check her channel out and have some experience of her style of astrology. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I
Thank you.
really had fun. And
Thank you so much.
so I'm going to end with one thing. I predict the sea will recede, or something will happen in the oceans, and we'll have an undersea discovery in the next 6 months. Okay, you get one prediction. Go.
Oh, I don't know actually. Well, to be honest with you, it's I'm not very good at kind of on the spot.
God, I know, but I'll just playfully, all the things we talked about, what thing do you
Well,
think?
actually, I joined forces with you, and well, hopefully I don't know, some discoveries in the universe as well. But I think my prediction as well, because it's Taurus, Scorpio, I think it will be something connected to finances, stock market, mortgage, inflation. That's what I think. There will be a lot going on in this area because we've got the nodes here transiting Taurus and Scorpio throughout 2021 until the end. So I think that's what's going to be happening as well moving forwards.
Yeah, and then and
Not
then
as exciting as yours.
I know. With Saturn is squaring the nodes, right? Because he's in the last decan of
Yes, on the
Aquarius. So we're gonna
21st.
end up with like authority, rules, structures being put into place regarding things that may have to do with the financial markets for sure.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, well,
That's where I
we'll
thought
see.
regulation of crypto might happen, where the governments want to regulate it somehow.
Well, if you say about this, is it Saturn and Node square on the 21st of April that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, could be. Well, in the UK, they've just kind of announced that there is two virus, gosh, I forgot the word now. It's connected to Omicron basically, but they found two.
Oh, the new one, the X?
Yeah, it's not new variant, subvariants. That's one of the
Yeah,
words.
I heard about the subvariant. Yeah.
So I hope, I don't know, maybe that's also kind of Saturn and the North Node
Yes.
square.
Well, Saturn has been doing a number in lockdown and
Oh my gosh, Saturn
oh my
has been
God.
a nightmare.
A nightmare. Oh my God. Somebody said to me back, another astrologer, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, way back 2 years ago, I think she said Saturn in Aquarius might be like anxiety or a fear about air. Okay. Hello. Everyone's got their mask and they're afraid to breathe, fear of air.
Which is strange because Saturn should be happy in Aquarius. This is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, but here it brought us a bit of trauma, didn't it?
A bit of trauma, yes, for sure. That was so much fun. Thank you again, Justyna.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. I'm going to stop the share, so it's just you and me to say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Recording, so it'll go to the upload to the cloud, and when I post this on YouTube, which will be not too long, just maybe a couple weeks back end from the Eclipse recording on the 11th, I'll send you the link.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great day, my dear.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.